How you doing?
Alright. Mind if I ask you why you decided to set up camp right here while my guys are working?
We're doing something called a conversation. I'm not even talking to your guys at all. They're going about their business and I'm going about mine. It only takes 5 minutes. I'll be out of your way very soon. I appreciate the cooperation.
What?
I appreciate it. I mean, I know I'm not allowed to talk to these guys, so I'm not.
Just found it interesting.
What?
I found it interesting.
It was really interesting to watch you sitting there as you were setting up and somebody came up to you off camera and said, you know, what are you doing here? Does that happen to you a lot?
It happens all the time. In fact, there were several people who've come by and asked us what we're doing here and asking us not to talk to any of the workers here, and they're just very curious, and I guess it's their job to prevent all these people from talking to the press. I'm not sure why that is. And Dan, BP recently rescinded the standing order that it's had within for the 20,000+ people who work for it, telling them not to talk to the press. I don't think that's observed here. People everywhere you go say, well, we can't tell you. Even if you ask them who they work for, they tell you that they can't even tell you that. So it's kind of a little odd tidbit and strange dynamic of working here.
But it seems like there's a sort of pervasive paranoia, and I'm not quite sure I fully understand why.
Well, I don't know if you're seeing what's going on behind me, but apparently they're clearing some of the workers who were behind us, which is the reason we set up this shot, and they pushed them away farther down the beach to be away from this shot, I guess fearing additional publicity. I don't know why, especially because there's been so much criticism of BP and the Coast Guard and the federal response saying they haven't done enough to combat this oil spill. And here we see dozens of workers on this beach wearing little booties and carrying around shovels and picking up the most minute speck of oil of these little patties of tar balls that sort of look like this off the beach. They seem to be doing their job. I think they should be commended for it and maybe receive a little bit of press for it, but I guess there's no interest.
One of the other fascinating things is this sort of two-sided, somewhat paradoxical attitude that people down there have toward BP. On the one hand, people are incredibly angry at the company. On the other hand, nobody wants to see the company go bankrupt because so many people rely on that industry.
Rely on the industry, and right now they rely specifically on the income they get from BP. There are thousands of people involved in the cleanup, so they are absolutely dependent on BP because right now, obviously, fishing is gone for the season, and it creates this very tense relationship with BP. On the one hand, people here would like to condemn it. On the other hand, they're afraid of going on the record. And we've noticed this most starkly, Dan, when dealing with the folks who've fallen ill from working out in the oil spill. We've had countless people tell us that they are ill, that they have headaches, that they have upper respiratory problems. And remember, Dan, after the Exxon Valdez disaster in 1989, 7,000 workers who had been involved in the spill, and this is according to Exxon's clinical data, fell ill with upper respiratory distress. Now, we don't know the numbers here, but similar types of dispersants are being used. People are exposed to similar types of fumes, and it's hotter out here, so the fumes rise and are even more potent. And yet we haven't seen people come forward because they need these jobs. They know that once BP goes away and this oil's cleaned up, the fisheries are not going to remain, so they have to rely on this cash income now, and they're not willing to go against BP, and certainly not on the record, certainly not in front of the camera.
What a perverse relationship, because here's this company that had a role in ruining the economic situation for so many people in terms of closing down fishing, etc. But on the other hand, some of these people don't want to go on the record as saying anything critical because they're relying on BP to give them a check to compensate them for the lost wages. These
are company towns, and they are ever more so now because there's only one company that's hiring, Dan, and that's BP. That is what is so scary. In addition to that, we talked about the moratorium on new offshore drilling. That is something that scares people here nearly to death. So much more relies on the oil industry here in drilling than it does on fishing. You see fishing boats everywhere, but a lot of the money comes in from oil drilling. If it goes away, and it very well might, it looks like certainly now there's this 6-month moratorium, people are going to be hit very, very hard in their wallets.
All right, my man, you and the people working with you are doing a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. See you, Dan.
Bye, guys.